Welcome back to the Deep Dive. So today we're taking a deep reconnaissance of the greater Montreal area, but we're looking beyond the big splashy headlines.
Right.
Our mission is to uncover the foundational strategic investments and the economic anchors that are quietly but really powerfully shaping the city's path through late 2025.
That's a great way to put it. The sources you've shared let us move past just, the announcement of the day.
Yeah.
We're synthesizing this data to understand the long-term trends, the economic, social, and cultural pillars that make this city unique, and this is critical, explain why public and private money is flowing where it is. It's really a study in urban resilience.
And we want you to walk away from this deep dive not just knowing the facts, but really understanding the strategy behind them. Okay, so let's unpack this. We'll start with something everyone in the region can relate to, especially now.
Winter.
Exactly. How Montreal plans to survive winter and why managing ice is actually treated like critical infrastructure.
It's the most Montreal way to start, isn't it? I mean, it's so easy to look at a neighborhood rink and just think, oh, that's just fun.
Of course.
But running a massive network of 230 municipal rinks, that's a huge annual commitment. And with the climate changing, the days of relying only on natural ice are, well, they're shrinking.
So that's why the push for modern refrigerated infrastructure is so strategic. It's about guaranteeing stability.
It is. It guarantees stability.
And that stability is exactly what brings in the crowds, both cultural and economic. I mean, look at the Esplanade Tranquille and the Quartier des Spectacles.
Perfect example.
Its success isn't just about the location. It's because that refrigeration guarantees a longer, completely reliable season. It's a dependable, major winter attraction year after year.
The city is essentially buying certainty. The sources show the annual maintenance budget for all those rinks, that's staff, energy, water, all the equipment. It represents several $1,000,000.
Which might seem like a lot for frozen water.
It might, but it's a non-negotiable commitment to quality local recreation. It's about preventing winter from just forcing everyone indoors for 5 months straight.
And when you invest that much, the social return on investment has to be massive.
It is. Most of those exterior rinks are totally free.
Right.
So they become this crucial tool for social inclusion, for encouraging physical activity, and for genuinely fighting that very real problem of winter isolation.
And what's fascinating here is how philanthropy steps in to boost the public funds. I was looking at the figures for the BLU, Blanche Bouget
I've
rinks.
heard the Canadians Foundation, yeah. They've poured over $27 million into that initiative. And it's targeted. They specifically build high-quality multi-sport rinks in underprivileged neighborhoods.
It's explicit use of recreation as a social development tool. It's about equalizing access.
Precisely. And it shows that a major pro sports team sees itself as more than just entertainment. They're part of the core social infrastructure.
That's a powerful statement, isn't it?
It is. And while the natural ice is always a bit of a gamble, the city makes sure there's year-round access through guaranteed options.
Right, so you have the 15 indoor arenas, like Arena Bill Durnan or Maurice Richard, that keep hockey and skating going no matter what.
Exactly. Through any thaw.
And then there's my personal favorite, just because it's so wild, the Atrium La 1000.
The indoor rink above Gare Centrale.
Yeah, an indoor refrigerated rink right downtown. It means workers and visitors can go for a skate even if there's a heat wave outside. It's such a brilliant use of vertical space.
It's a perfect example of turning a seasonal challenge into a year-round asset.
So that whole discussion really shows the power of investing in daily life, in social infrastructure. And that same idea of intense concentration, not just of people, but of capital, is what defines our next topic.
So let's pivot from ice to the stage.
Okay.
What happens when we actually quantify the impact of the theater sector? Because the numbers here are, frankly, they're shocking. They really are. The theater sector isn't just the arts. It's an economic behemoth. It is absolutely vital to the city's energy.
So the sources say it contributes a massive 6% of the agglomeration's GDP. 6%.
And it employs nearly 91,000 workers. That's 8% of the entire metropolis's workforce. I mean, think about that. It's a powerful, non-cyclical economic pillar.
We have to stop there for a second. That 6% figure is huge. And the financial resilience in 2023 is just astounding. Gross ticket revenue hit $408.9 million.
Which is a 43% leap compared to the pre-disruption average.
So was that surge just, a couple of big blockbuster shows, or was it spread out across the board?
That's a critical question. And while the big shows help, the overall number is so robust, it suggests a very wide distribution. It really validates the city's strategy of supporting a diverse mix.
Do you mean having the big francophone institutions like TNM?
Right, and Théâtre Dionysus, Platier, but also having equally strong Anglophone venues like the Centaur and the Segal Center. This mix caters to the full cultural appetite, and that keeps the revenue dispersed and stable.
So we're not just funding art. We are, in a very real way, subsidizing the entire downtown hospitality and retail ecosystem.
Exactly. Every dollar of public investment in the arts generates a multiple in economic spin-offs. It's not charity. It's an investment strategy that fuels everything from local restaurants to transit.
And the diversity of what's on stage is key. We see the growing importance of intercultural companies, like the indigenous company Ondanak and venues like MAI.
And that variety is a unique selling point on the world stage. You can even quantify it with festivals.
Right.
The Festival Transmerique, the FTA, it specifically targets international media and arts professionals. It generates significant cultural business tourism. People travel here to do business in the arts.
While on the more local level, you have something like the Fringe Festival, which is this crucial creative lab for experimentation.
For sure. And that grassroots activity helps cement neighborhoods like the Plateau and Mile End as these vibrant creative hubs. It gives them a personality that draws more investment.
And if you connect that creative density to urban life, it matters a lot, doesn't it?
Tremendously. 37% of the sector's 91,000 jobs are in one borough, Ville-Marie.
The central one.
Right. And that sheer density of activity leads directly to more nightlife, more energy, and crucially, a greater sense of security in those cultural neighborhoods.
The stage really shows us the power of density. Now, let's take that idea and shift gears completely to heavy industry, a sector that needs incredibly specialized skills and supply chains. Aerospace.
It's easy to forget that Montreal is, historically, the third global aerospace hub, right after Seattle and Toulouse.
And the numbers still reflect that scale. We're talking about 42,500 direct jobs in the greater region.
And what makes this so critical is that these jobs pay significantly more than the Quebec average. You have a real concentration of high-skilled wealth.
And that concentrated wealth has a direct, very visible effect on the city, doesn't it? It puts constant, intense pressure on the housing market in the areas around the facilities.
Absolutely. Places like Saint-Laurent, Longueuil, and Mirabel. The salaries paid to aerospace engineers and executives, they significantly distort the average home prices there.
The sector's success is a double-edged sword for urban planners.
It really is. It drives up competition and makes it harder for other residents to find housing they can afford.
And beyond the jobs, the sector invests over $1.7 billion a year in R&D. That's what cements the whole innovation ecosystem.
And the key link here is the synergy. You see, Montreal is a double pole of excellence. It integrates both civil aviation and the defense and security or D&S industry. Most hubs specialize in one or the other.
So the fact that companies like CAE, the simulation leader, or Pratt & Whitney serve both civil and defense markets, is that the secret sauce? Does that prevent a local crash when one market gets turbulent?
That is the key strategic insight. That dual application creates a powerful innovation multiplier, and it acts as an essential buffer.
How so?
Well, technology developed for a civil cockpit can be rapidly adapted for military platforms. It just accelerates development across the board. And the stability of the defense sector guarantees high-wage jobs and R&D funding, even when the civil aviation market takes a nosedive.
So the industry is just far more resilient.
Much more. And it's a massive national engine, too. The Canadian D&S industry contributes $9.6 billion to the national GDP, and Quebec captures a huge specialized piece of that.
Which in turn fuels the research centers and universities, creating that pipeline of talent.
Exactly. And it helps the entire supply chain. All the smaller PMEs can find contracts and talent locally.
Okay, so if the success of the aerospace sector is putting all this pressure on housing, what does the city's strategic response actually look like on the ground?
It means major visible investments in quality of life are basically non-negotiable. If you look at the local level, the Plateau Mont-Royal, a very dense borough, spends $5.9 million a year just on park maintenance.
That seems incredibly high for a relatively small area.
It is. But that concentrated spending is necessary because high density means rapid wear and tear. It's probably one of the highest per square meter investments in green space in the entire region. They are literally fighting density with grass and trees.
And that pays off financially too, right?
Yeah,
Proximity to a nice park can increase home values by, what, 5 to 15%?
it can. Green space is literal urban capital. It raises the tax base and quality of life at the same time.
Let's pivot to housing affordability, because the urgency, especially in the peripheral cities, is undeniable. I mean, the vacancy rate in Laval is often below 1.5%.
Which is way below the healthy 3% threshold. This requires an immediate response from everyone, government and the private sector.
So can you contrast the two different approaches, the government-led solution versus a more market-based one?
Sure. Let's take the Chomedy complex in Laval. That was a $45.5 million project for 101 units.
Which still sounds expensive per unit.
It does, because government-led housing has to meet incredibly high standards and navigate a lot of bureaucracy. But the payoff is the affordability guarantee. 65 of those households get the Rent Supplement Program, the PSL, which limits their rent to just 25% of their income.
That's a powerful poverty reduction tool.
A very powerful one. And then you have the disruptive private sector approach, the Shock Project against homelessness.
This is a totally different model.
The major paradigm shift. 3 big private developers, Group Mock, Cougar, Devimco, they proposed building 2,500 social units for about $300 million. It's significantly cheaper per unit because they can use their existing supply chains and just build faster.
And the plan is to build them and then just hand them over to the government.
Exactly. Cede the ownership, which minimizes the state's time risk.
I find the community-driven planning, though, particularly forward-thinking. Let's talk about the Louvain Ecoquartier in Huntsic.
So the initial public investment for site prep was about $13.4 million, but the real genius is in the long-term structure. They created a community land trust called Fuzel.
And how does that work?
The land trust takes the price of the land itself out of the unit's cost. This guarantees that half of the 800 to 1,000 planned units will stay permanently social and affordable through a 70-year lease. It doesn't matter how hot the market gets around it.
It future-proofs the housing stock.
That's the perfect term for it. It stabilizes wealth and builds community resilience, addressing the underlying structure of land value, not just the symptoms of poverty.
And looking ahead, there's that amazing vision for reclaiming nature that also speaks to resilience. The project to reopen the buried Sainte Marie stream.
Right, the Ami du Courant Sainte Marie. The vision could cost $20 to $30 million at first.
So why spend millions to unbury a stream?
Because it's not just scenery. It's vital flood insurance and climate mitigation. It creates green corridors, it acts as a natural defense against urban heat islands, and it takes a lot of pressure off the sewer system during heavy rain. Plus, it's estimated to attract 500,000 visitors a year.
We've covered economics, infrastructure, housing. I think we need to close by talking about the people who truly power this city's international status. Montreal is a ville monde, a world city.
Undeniably, 33.4% of the population is first-generation immigrant, and 37.6% are visible minorities.
That high number means the city operates with this uniquely broad international lens that, frankly, few other North American cities have.
And that population holds enormous strategic value. They act as cultural brokers, as non-state actors in international relations.
What do you mean by cultural brokers in an economic sense?
They have this crucial double competence. They get the local business context, the laws, the market here, and they understand the social norms, the regulations, the trusted networks of their country of origin.
And I imagine that double competence has a direct economic benefit. It reduces friction, it reduces risk.
Precisely. It facilitates trade, it lowers risk for our PMEs, our small and medium-sized businesses that want to export, and it makes Montreal more attractive for foreign direct investment. They are the informal diplomatic channels that keep the city globally connected.
And in research, the diaspora facilitates what they call brain circulation. We always worry about brain drain, but this turns it into a beneficial exchange.
It does. Through transnational academic networks, co-publications, knowledge transfer in fields like AI and aerospace.
It's a two-way flow of knowledge.
Absolutely. It ensures the city's competitive edge. In the end, this diversity is maybe Montreal's most powerful asset. It's dynamic soft power that guarantees its reputation as an open, globally relevant city.
That sums up our sources perfectly. We've seen this dual focus, high-tech, global drivers in aerospace and the cultural sector, balanced by this hyper-focused investment in quality of life.
From affordable housing, using land trusts, to preserving green space, and even making winter a dependable asset.
Right.
And the final takeaway is that these strategic investments are less about the immediate dollar spent and more about stabilizing wealth and ensuring long-term community resilience. That Fuzel land trust model, guaranteeing affordability for 70 years, that shows the city is planning not for next quarter, but for the next 3 generations.
Which leaves us with this final provocative thought for you to consider. Our sources detail a significant concentration of new professional sports teams settling outside the island of Montreal. The Victoire de Montreal, the Roses de Montreal, the new FC Supro du Quebec, they're all based in Laval.
Interesting.
What will this expanding sports footprint mean for the future density, infrastructure demands, and maybe the perceived urban centrality of peripheral cities like Laval? And will it finally spark that long-desired regional rivalry that's needed to fuel even more growth? Something to mull over until our next deep dive.